We're rolling.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Davey.
Here.
Councilmember Heckey. Councilmember Covencore. Here. Councilmember Heckey is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Augusto Ramos? Yes.
Yes.
From the Church of the Nazarene.
Yes.
Would you all please rise and help lead us in the invocation? Thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, God, for another opportunity to gather us as leadership of this town. And Father, we just pray for your blessing over this meeting, Lord. We pray, Father, that you will help us to get through the agenda. God, we pray that you will be with every leader, Lord. God, we thank you for those who protect our city, Lord. We thank you for our teachers, Lord. We thank you for administrators, Lord. We thank you for everyone who serves in this town, Lord. We just pray, God, a blessing over each and every one of them, Father. We pray, Lord, for your presence in this meeting. Pray, God, that you will bless it, that, Lord, that it will produce what you want it to produce, Lord, and then our town will continue to strive. Father, we thank you once again for this opportunity. We pray these things, Lord, in your name. Amen.
Amen. Remain standing for the pledge. Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Before I move on to the consent agenda, I would like to read a statement. Several citizens have expressed concerns regarding safety for both citizens and staff in attendance at council meetings. In response to these concerns, we kindly request all audience members in the council chambers to be seated throughout the meeting unless speaking at the podium. We also request that citizens in attendance remain in the audience seating area and refrain from approaching council members and staff at the dais. We thank you for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Graff, would you please be seated?
I have a lower back injury. It hurts to sit.
You can make it easy.
Before we get into public comments, I would like to introduce Ryan Stolberg from Southern California Edison, who's going to give us a brief update on wildfire stuff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members and staff. I'm pinch hitting tonight for my colleague Cal Rossi, who's up in the Bishop Mammoth area, actually involved in a wildfire mitigation effort up there. I just wanted to take a couple minutes just to provide a brief update as to what Southern California Edison's wildfire mitigation plan entails and where we're at with that. As you're probably aware, it's the #1 priority for Edison, especially since now wildfire season really is year-round. And I just wanted to touch on a few components of how we're reinforcing our electrical grid with new technologies to help reduce the risk of wildfires. One of those areas includes installing insulated wires that lower the chance of faults or short circuits that can create sparks when our wires come in contact with birds or other animals, vegetation or debris, or come in contact with the ground. So with this insulated wiring that we're putting in, that will help mitigate the danger on that front. We're also installing composite poles that are stronger and more resilient than our traditional wood poles. We're also placing remote controlled automated equipment on our circuits that can react more quickly to minimize fire risks, and so we're using that technology. We're also engaged in inspecting all of our overhead equipment and power lines in high fire risk areas to identify and remediate potential issues. So if you see our helicopters or aircraft in the area or get called calls. That's what we're doing in that regard. To bolster our situational awareness capabilities, we've also been installing more weather stations and high-definition cameras in our high-risk fire areas, and this is increasing our ability to anticipate weather conditions and identify and proactively repair equipment. We also, on another front, continue with our active vegetation management program, where our crews are out inspecting and making sure that our lines are clear of trees or other vegetation to make sure that we're maintaining those proper clearances to ensure safety and also access. And then our final area is our public safety power shutoff program, which is employed in extreme conditions. It's really a measure of last resort when extreme weather conditions pose such a fire risk. In our high-risk fire areas, we would go in and proactively shut off the power to minimize the risk of a wildfire starting as it relates to our system. But it takes a number of factors for that situation to develop. It has to have significant wind, high winds, high temperatures, low humidity. There's a number of factors that go into that. And at Edison, we have a full-time in-house fire staff and also weather staff that monitor those conditions around the clock. And as a matter of fact, Cal is currently up in Bishop Mammoth area because we've actually got a public safety power event going on up there because of the high winds and the other risk factors that are entailed. So again, we're active on a number of fronts with regard to wildfire mitigation, so just wanted to touch base with you all tonight, just provide a brief update.
Any questions from the audience? Council?
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions or information, call Cal or you can call me, and we'll make sure we get back to you. But thank you again.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item. Staff recommendations are shown in caps, and I'd like to remind you to please turn off or silence your cell phones during the meeting. Is there anyone from the audience who would like anything removed from the consent agenda? Council?
Motion to approve consent as presented.
Moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let the record show it was a 4-0 vote. Audience oral and written communications. The City Council welcomes public comments on any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. We respectfully request that this public forum be utilized in a positive and constructive manner. Persons addressing the council should first state their name and area of residence, the matter of city business to be discussed, and the organization or persons represented, if any. Comments directed to an item on the agenda should be made at the time that item is called up. Questions on non-agenda items directed to the council or staff should be first submitted to the city clerk in written form no later than 5 p.m. on Monday. No action can be taken by the council on matters not listed on the agenda except in certain specific circumstances. And the council reserves the right to limit the speaking time, which is 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment?
Jim Jacobs, District 5. My first concern is the housing projects that we seem to be having pop up all over the place. Well, two specifically. The major concern with one of them is we're going to build a road. I don't think we should build a road. But more importantly, besides that dirt road, on the south end of Curry, we have a development with water, sewer, electrical, everything is in. Why aren't we looking towards that property, which would be a whole lot easier to develop at a lower cost?
Jay, would you like to address that?
Does my time stop if he's talking?
We'll give you a little more.
Okay, thank you.
He's not going to talk for 2 minutes.
The answer is, the City of Tehachapi doesn't develop property, private developers do. I don't have control over who builds what and when they build it. We simply are approving projects as they meet the qualification criteria for approving projects. So the question is not really, I don't go build the house. We don't build the house, so I can't tell you why the owner of that property is not moving forward as opposed to others. Our job is to determine whether the housing project is appropriate and say yes or no on that level.
If I may add, we invite you to City Hall, we can go over all the projects in detail with you, so you could maybe better understand who owns them, what are the development plans, so on and so forth, so you have a better understanding of the projects that are out there. And anytime.
I understand one of them is a Tehachapi LLC that we just filed. Do you know who that is, what it is?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's Greenbrier, I think that's the, well, it could be the address, but come by City Hall tomorrow, we can meet you somewhere, or, we can go over all of those elements, which I'll be happy to.
I appreciate that, thank you. Next topic is road safety in Tehachapi. The boulevard looks good, I know the striping is coming real quick. Outstanding job doing it in a timely manner, so I give the city kudos for that. But we have a lot of streets that don't have lines on them. And a couple of them are major traffic areas. Denison, going east of town, all the way out. You got one skinny lane, one lane coming west into town. You've got enough room for 3 going east out of town. People will drive in the middle. And it makes it hazardous if you try to pass them or any type of traffic out there. That is a problem. I would like to see a study done, and if you aren't going to do it, I'll do it, to go around the city, look at the streets that need this safety measure fixed. Just know we're going to have an accident somewhere, and the way the streets look, I would think the city would be liable if there is any type of major damage to citizen, property, vehicle, whatever it might be. So I'm interested in that. And I think I'm just going to wrap it up right there. I think I've given you guys enough to think about and ponder, and I will come to City Hall and we'll talk. Thank you.
Thank you. And concerning roads and streets within the city, we do have staff who do study those things and try and stay on top of them and do the best we can with the money that we have, so. All right. Any other public comments?
Good evening, I'm Corey Torres, I'm the interim district manager of the Park District. I just wanted to take the time and thank the city. This past Saturday, we had the Tehachapi Grand Fondo, the 6th annual. It was a massive success, and so I just wanted to take a minute and thank the city for hosting us in your downtown, and especially thank you to Public Works and TPD for keeping the riders safe and the public. So I just wanted to say a quick thank you.
Question. How many riders did you have this year?
1,006. So
Still a huge crowd, isn't it?
yeah, so it was very successful, and we appreciate doing it. And we look forward to next year.
Thank you.
I went downtown purposely on Friday afternoon 2 or 3 times and just cruised around. And if there was a place to sit outside for a restaurant, it was full. There were people everywhere, and they all had smiles, and they were all spending money. So people who sometimes want to criticize events that we have, they bring a lot of money into our city. And it was a very safe event this time. So thank you. Any other public comments?
Davies on Township, New Jersey. I've got 2 questions that are going to be directed to the police chief. before I get the answer. On August 2nd, I had injured myself hiking, and I was looking for assistance from a motorist, and I was attacked. I was kicked in the face, and the police responded, and the report comes back, and the individual's not been arrested, though even though I had major life-threatening injuries before I was attacked, and this person got out, a sworn peace officer, by the way, not some member of the department, another agency, who's supposed to be able to recognize SOS on a flashlight, supposed to recognize people in distress, who kicked me in the face. And on this police report, you'll see that I have minor injuries, but if you go to the next couple pages, you'll see the surgery that I had. I had to have my face reconstructed. I had to have 2 metal plates and wires to put my jaw back together, and it cost me over $7,000. This person is not been arrested. The report's gone to the DA, it was rejected for insufficiency. They tried to say that I somehow attacked this person. I was on the ground, I had lost blood, I crawled 200 yards on 1 foot, and I'm wondering why it was listed as minor injuries. Now, the second question I have, I submitted as a written question 2 weeks ago. I wasn't able to make it, but I've been contacted by a member of the police department's spouse on Facebook, and I have evidence of this. I find it to be very highly inappropriate, considering that I got arrested at this podium.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I'm going to interrupt here.
thank you.
Mr. Davies, my spouse did not intentionally contact you on Facebook, and my spouse is certainly not a subject matter before this council. So I'll stop you right there. And as far as the incident goes that occurred, that you're trying to portray that you were the victim, as a matter of fact, the district attorney has reviewed that case and has issued a warrant for your arrest. So when you're done with your 3 minutes, you can see one of the officers at the back of the room, and we can address that warrant.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
I dressed for it. I find it highly inappropriate. I don't know why his spouse would be on my Facebook.
We're not going to discuss that.
Again, Mr. Davies, my spouse is not.
Why should you contact me?
My spouse did not contact you today.
Hey,
Who came up and get him out of here?
Excuse me, we're done.
Your time is up, sir. Please return to your seat.
Are there any other public comments at this time? Pardon? Yeah. All right, if there are no other public comments, we're going to move on to item 6. Disbursements and bills for RSI Petroleum for August 27, 2019 through September 9, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I need to recuse myself because I'm an employee of RSI Petroleum.
Thank you.
On the matter of Jim Jacobs, District 5. Last meeting, Madam Mayor, you said RSI was a no contract bid. I have a huge problem with that. When did the city become a no contract bid city? Ma'am, you're the one that said it.
I don't recall saying that. I'm sorry. What I said was that Mr. Davies doesn't own the business.
No, you said you pick and choose.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Crowd.
So,
Yeah,
are they or are they not a no bid contract?
Let me have our city manager answer that.
We have several vendors that we do not have contracts with. Fuel is one of them. We've been utilizing RSI services for a long time, amongst other companies for their services. Fuel is a spot market, it's a daily market. RSI gives us great price. We've actually gone out and looked at different pricing, different services. We have a small tank at the Public Works Department. They are able to deliver fuel for us on a daily basis. We have a great relationship with them and have a relationship with them way before Mr. Davies entered the picture, probably 20 or more years.
That's all fine and dandy, but it's a no-bid contract. I think by city charter, we have to do city contracts with open bids for services. I think we're in violation of that. I don't have our policies and procedures, or else I would look that up and find out exactly where we stand on this. That's not how we do business, folks. We don't have no-bid contracts just because they've been here for 30 years. That doesn't make sense. We need to have open bid contracts for everybody that is written. Are we going to sidebar?
Oh, I was just going to talking about answering your question further.
Okay, I'm ready. Well, now you don't have an answer?
I can speak to other staff members up here without it being a demand.
Well, I know, but I have the floor, and you two are having a sidebar.
Excuse me,
You were speaking
will
to
you
them,
please?
sir, and they were listening to you.
Sir, will you please just finish your presentation?
I'm trying to, without interruption, ma'am.
Well, go on.
Okay. I think it's wrong that we do an open bid contract for 30 years. That's not how we do business. We send out a bid and have people bid on the contract. Review it at a bid opening where you have 3, 4, 5, 6 vendors trying to get our business. Not, oh, here you go. You can just apply us, come in once a day and top off our tanks. Not good business. Not good business at all. And it's part of Pardon me?
Your time is up, sir.
You can have 30 more seconds because staff talked to you.
Thank you. It needs to be addressed, and I just know the RSI has one, and you said we have several non-contract bids for work in the city. I think all of those need to be put on the table and discussed openly, and let's get the bid process in place and utilize it like we as a charter city should do.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience?
George Sandy, resident for about 24 years. If my memory serves me correct, when I first came up here, the fuel was being supplied and advertised with a big sign and everything as Chevron. That's when Joe Townsend had it before it was changed over to the city running it. Anyways, from that point on, my recollection, talking to the various airport managers we've had, we simply go out, we turned our back on Chevron because spot prices were a lot cheaper, and so we started buying fuel from the low bidder, and the airport manager would make several calls to different sources, and that's how we got low-cost fuel and kept the cost down. However, it has its disadvantages because when there's a fuel shortage, sometimes the spot market falls apart and majors are the only ones that have a good reliable fuel supply. But other than that, I just wanted to add a little history to the bidding and the procedures we've been using at this airport for 20-some years was to just simply go around and shop prices. And I assume this source that we're using now is the low bidder. And I could pose a question on that issue. If anybody has an answer, otherwise, be up to the maybe airport manager.
Just for clarification, RSI does not provide fuel to the airport. This is in regards to our Public Works Department, no fuel tanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? Oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I need a motion.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there a different way that you would want to handle this? I mean, if it's on the spot market, what are you gonna have a bid every month? Who wants to have a contract for this month or next month, or, I mean, we've done it in the past, but.
This is a tough one, honestly.
I mean, it's not like a contract for a specific project where you get 5 bids, you open the bids and there's the low bidder. It's pretty simple.
There is a difference, and that's what Jay and I were conversing about just a moment ago. It's not a bidding process where you open the bids and the lowest bidder gets them. RSI is a great company. They're local. They provide fuel at a moment's notice. We have a small tank. They work really well with us. Fuel prices change daily. I'm not sure how we would put it out to bid, quite frankly. What's your baseline? Where do you start from? We could certainly mull it over and do some research on this. But it's a little bit of a tough nut to crack for sure. Fuel prices, they change every day, as we know.
Any other questions? Council? I would note that RSI has been known to, when there's a big storm coming and someone calls and says, man, we need fuel, they come up here, they get it to us and try and beat the snow, so.
I think most companies would probably do that, but you're absolutely right. That's a great example. We have the flexibility of buying many things through a purchase order system. For instance, WITS, everything for the office. A lot of office supplies through WITS. But there are several different ways that we purchase all kinds of different items from the open market.
For the sake of argument, just check out what are other options you would do.
We will.
And ask, is anyone else interested in, how much do we buy from them? I forget what we buy. This one is about $3,000 this month. So.
Probably, just guessing,
30,000 a year.
It would be 15 gallons.
yes, something like that.
It's our unleaded diesel fuel for our public works department, for our police department. It is not aviation fuel.
The other part of it is too, how do you bid on something where you don't know the price in a month?
If I may, you will not get a contractor to give you a price for fuel for the next year. It's not going to happen. A supplier will not provide you a price for fuel today for a year from now. It will not happen.
It's impossible.
Would you, as a contractor, provide a price for a service that you don't know what the price that you're going to have to pay for it a year from now? Is not going to happen. So we can go out and get prices if you want, but they don't know what the price is going to be next week. How can they tell you what the price is going to be a year from now? Okay, so thank you.
Peter Grassley, that's absolutely true, because there's always fluctuation here. But during the contract phase, couldn't you request a percentage of a baseline? If it's $2 a gallon, then you can pay a percentage above that. You always have a fixed percentage. We're not looking for the dollar line, it's a percentage of what you're going to pay over their baseline continuously.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council concerning this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion on staff's recommendation with just the consent that look into it, see if there's any other way you would want to ask anyone who would want to deliver fuel, but you're not going to get a bid. It's fuel delivery, basically. So, but if they can do a percentage or something. But anyway, for tonight, motion on staff's recommendation as presented.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show that Mr. Davies recused himself. Number 7, as soon as Mr. Davies takes his seat.
ordinances and lease agreements. The inspections were conducted on various days between June and July with great success. During these inspections, staff verified the hangars were being used for aviation purposes. We checked on life safety items such as fire extinguishers, hazardous materials being stored inside, and electrical, and verified the surrounding areas were not being used for storage. We also went through records to make sure all leases, insurance documentation, and sublease information was up to date. So our findings, I'm happy to state that the majority of the inspections were found to be compliant with only minor violations, such as an outdated extinguisher or insurance, and of the 85 hangars at the airport, we found the following. So 3 of those hangars were unoccupied, 2 of which are still going through the building permit process, and 1 of which is our old Tehachapi hangar, so it cannot be occupied. 3 of those hangars, we had no shows. 1 hangar, we did have an order to refuse. There were 7 total hangars there. And 2 of the hangars were found out of compliance with the aeronautical use of the hangar, and we're happy to state here that those tenants are both now in compliance. They had tenants that were tied down that are now renting from them. And then 70 of the hangars were found to either have no violation or minor violations, of which the majority have been rectified or actively working on being rectified. So just so you are aware, we made every attempt to accommodate tenants during the process. Tenants who could not be there, they did have the option to have a designee present. We also made accommodations for those who could not perhaps make a date or time. Tenants who did not show for their inspections were tagged and given a new date and time. And the tenants who did not pass their initial inspection, who requested more time, were given that extra time. So I did include in here, when I sent out the notices of compliance or non-compliance, a little comment card. I did include that in your packet and everything. So one good thing to notice here is most of the time when you do a comment card, it's generally used for, if you're unhappy with something. All of the comment cards we received back were positive, great thing there. And then we'd like to recommend a few changes to our hand use policy. Of course, this was the first year, so we have some kinks we need to work out here. So after 2 successful inspections, a tenant would be moved to inspections every 3rd year. A successful inspection is any inspection that was found to have only minor violations, which were rectified in the time allotted by staff. Extensions may be requested and provided to those showing active work towards compliance. And the second item would be an inspection would be required within 30 days of any newly assigned lease or sublease. So staff would like to recommend that you approve the amendments to the hangar inspection policy, subject to the approval of the city manager and city attorney.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience concerning this?
My name is Carl. My name is Carl Garrett. I live in the city. I read the minutes as was posted. I believe one tenant who has a number of hangars refused. Did that person allow you to inspect the hangars?
No, this is the current list.
Well, that particular individual should be sitting there, and he's not. Is there anything that's going to be done regarding it, or are we just going to say, great, he's a city councilman, so we're not going to do nothing? Anyway, thanks.
Well, go ahead, and I'd like to comment on that.
So, as you may recall, we did include a provision within our hangar inspection policy that the leasee, if they did not work in compliance, would be charged a fair market value for the non-aeronautical use of the hangar until they came into compliance. We're still working things out along those lines. Also working with the FAA, potentially looking at bringing them in on the issue, just to make sure we are good to go there.
My concern is, I don't care who owns the hangar, but I don't know now, there's been no fire inspection. I don't know what that person has in his hangars, and I'm worried from a liability issue. You know, is it going to burn down tomorrow? I don't know that. So I really think that this is a really serious situation. You know, not just, oh, well, I don't want you to do that right now. And we never get to look inside. And I think if something happened and anyone was injured, we could be held liable because we didn't pursue it. Is that correct?
Well, I'm never going to pass judgment on a case on theoretical facts. I would say this, if the council insists on going into these 7 hangars and the lessee will not allow it, then you have to get a court order.
Okay. And if that person has already sublet that hangar, then do we have the right to go to the new lessee
Yes.
to inspect it?
You said yes, Phil?
Once we amend this, in 30 days, we'll be able to, I thought it was in there, when it's sublet it, that it requires a hangar inspection.
Well, I don't think that's in his lease.
With the amendment tonight.
I don't know, that would take some research.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I have a clarification question.
Yes.
Then I have to clarify, with the amendment that we're doing tonight, anytime there's a new tenant, a new lease drawn up, it's going to require an inspection, correct?
Yes, we've already, of course, been doing inspections, which is already required in our leases, inspections. It's just, we're now following through with those, making sure that we take
And if we have an assignment of a lease, or we have a sublessee, where we don't generally, I guess, do we approve the subleases?
Yes, so we are supposed to be approving those subleases. As we were going through the inspections, we found that there were quite a few that were sublet that we were unaware of, so we were cleaning up our documentation that way, and we are requiring and making sure everybody is aware that if you do sublease this, you need to get a sub letter, so we are aware of it.
Certainly in new assignees or sublessees, we would want to include in the assignment or the sublease or our consent of the sublease, this provision, that you have to let us in to look at the...
That's what it says right now, correct? With the amendment.
That's what but you want it in the lease, the assignment of the lease that we sign off.
Okay.
Right.
Okay? And again, if they say, no, we're not going to let you in, it doesn't matter what's on the printed page. You don't want to self-help and push them aside and go in, you're going to have to get a court order.
Okay. Well, I'm still concerned about the one large hangar, because now it's going to be aerospace, which I think is a little more flammable than a couple small airplanes. Maybe not, but I've worked in aerospace and I know the chemicals and things they use, and they're not good. So I really would like to have an update on that and find out as you're progressing through this, if you've been able to look at any of those hangars.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other, you had a question, sir?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. You guys are showing real colors. I am embarrassed for you guys to attack a councilman when he's not here to defend himself. Is this what we've become? Unbelievable. You would never do it to either before. I know you wouldn't do that. But he's the one that makes things right. He asks the questions. He gets the work done. And now that he's not there, from the airport manager to the council, you're attacking a guy that can't defend himself right now. And I think that is wrong. And I believe you showed your true colors with that. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I would like to add that I don't care, no, you're done, I'm talking, no more. I don't care who owns the hangar. I want to know that it's safe, that it's had an inspection for fire. This is not the first board I've ever sat on. I've worked with a school district and several other boards, an airport district, and liability has to be the #1 concern of this group, no matter who's here, not here, or whatever. It has to be verified, and it has to be a concern that we know whoever's going in there as a sub-leaseor has to be safe. I'm sorry that you don't agree with this, but that's my opinion. That's the way I feel. Thank you.
Can you readdress this at a later time to where the councilman can defend himself and answer questions that are unanswered right now? I think that, I'm sorry. I think that would be beneficial to the citizens and to you guys. It needs to be addressed. Let's address it with him here so he can at least defend what is going on and why it's going on. And right now it just seems like it's a witch hunt.
Mr. Jacobs, I have concern because of his involvement with the airport. He recuses himself when these issues come up. So we can't, even though he has a history of knowledge of the airport and so on and so forth, we cannot question him in that regard. That's my understanding. If I'm incorrect, let me know.
That is correct.
That's correct.
If he was here,
That's correct. And additionally, the mayor asked for an update, and we're happy to do that. And this is work in progress. And make no mistake, Mr. Hecky is not the only hangar owner that is not in compliance.
That's right.
There are others. And so what we want is a safe airport, and we want to make certain that the hangars are used for aviation use, first and foremost, and we work with the FAA and the airport attendants. So we just want to make sure that, again, it's safe and it's used for aviation. There's no drama here. We have some that have not complied, and we want them to comply. We will continue to work with them to make certain that they do comply and they follow the terms of the current lease.
Thank you.
But my problem with that is he was singled out. You didn't name the other six.
I didn't name him.
Gentleman from the audience did.
That's not us.
Okay, but he was still called out and he can't defend himself. That's what I think is wrong.
Thank you.
And if you can readdress it, I would really appreciate it. Even though he has to claim conflict of interest, I don't think it's conflict of interest. I think conflict of interest is put on people to stifle them because you don't want to hear what they got to say or hear what they're doing and why they're doing it. So if you would reconsider readdressing this with him in present, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you. Can we not go ahead and approve the amendments to the hangar inspection?
We're just asking for two things.
Yes.
It's the amendments as actually read, and I feel no need to delay that at all. There's no,
It doesn't single out anyone or anything.
No, this is a benefit to tenants, especially if they're in compliance.
Right.
right.
And I do understand that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No other comments or questions for me?
If I have a comment. I believe this issue could be handled much more expeditiously if we look back at the leases that we all sign on the airport. The leases all read the same, and if you look through all the chapters of those leases, you'll find there's information pertaining to this issue that we're talking about, rights of inspection and so forth. And also there's a cautionary note in there that says any of us that are not in compliance and do not respond to the issue coming to a head and asking to comply, then there's a danger of losing your lease. And so I just thought I'd bring that up because I advise all the council to have a good look at our leases that we write for all the hangars here. Pertains to all the people on the airport.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Jim.
Jim Rhodes, I live in the city, and I've had hangars on this airport since 1977, that's over 40 years, and nobody is concerned about liability in this hangar than the hangar owner, because he has the most to lose. So I want to allay your fears that people are just willy-nilly on their fear of hangar fires. That is the worst fear in my life, is almost a hangar fire. So, and there's never been one on this airport as long as I've been here. My second thought is, you have these amendments coming for you tonight, and the hangar owners,
There's only two of us here that I know of. And to me, we should have been notified of this will be on the agenda and what the amendment was, so that we could be here and speak on it. None of the hang-ons have been here to speak on this amendment. And it's been read, to me, actually rather fast. I couldn't quite understand everything he was saying. But there needs to be more public input on this, I think, before it's voted on, just like there was public input and it was voted down when you wanted to start taxing landlords for inspections of their houses and their rentals. And that was discussed publicly in City Council there and was voted down because you got more information on it from the hangar owners, the landlords, which I was one of them at the time. So I'm involved in rentals in this town, I'm involved in hangars on the airport. I think the information you give to the people involved before it's voted on by you folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would add that when I speak of liability, fire is just one little part. So what's the pleasure of the council?
Well, just a comment. Mr. Roberts, one of the amendments is a benefit to hangar owners. If you pass 2 inspections, you can go every 3rd year now, instead of every year? Mm-hmm. You get 2 in a row, you can go 3. So now that's a benefit. And then for the other one, if you sublet, it's going to have an inspection within 30 days. So those are the only 2 items that we're adding on. It's not a major
thing. Should be apprised of this sort of thing before you folks vote on it.
Do you think those are 2 major things that you would have?
Yes, I'd like to know about it. I'd like to say, okay, there's a memo or whatever it is, all the hang-ons, that this is coming in. These are the issues coming up regarding hangar inspections, and they're voted on, and we'd like your input. We being us. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
How many days ahead is our agenda posted?
We post the agendas the Tuesday prior, 5 p.m.
Okay. And I appreciate people wanting to be notified of certain things, but it's kind of impractical because no matter what is on the agenda, someone has a concern about it. And that's fine, but I would urge all of you to check on the agendas on Tuesday when they're posted, which is sooner than it used to be.
I view this as a huge positive. We have hangar owners and users that are in complete compliance with 89 hangars, 87 hangars?
85.
85, thank you. And of the 85, only 9 hangars have yet to be inspected. The others were in full compliance or very close and came into compliance right away. Mm-hmm. So this is a positive for the hangar owners, the users, the city, anyone and everyone. So this is a really good thing.
And from the comment cards, would you say overall the inspection process was well received by most of them?
Absolutely. I'd say many of the hangar owners were hesitant initially, but once we got out there, it was a good opportunity for staff to shake hands, talk about more than just the inspections with those tenants, and I think it was a huge positive for both ends. And like I said, the relationship now with a lot of those tenants is really good, and they feel very comfortable now with approaching staff.
Super, I think that's very good. And to further comment, this was a requirement imposed upon us by the FAA. They asked us to start doing your inspections that we said we would do. This is not new to Tehachapi Airport. I remember talking to Dan Sepovich in Mojave. He'd go down that flight line, and if someone had their hangar door open, there might or might not be an airplane in it, and there might or might not be someone living in it. And they did have a fatality once for someone who was living in a hangar. So therefore, there are reasons for inspections, and for the most part, it sounds like everyone was all for it and had no problems. And with that, I will make a recommendation. We vote on staff's recommendation.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amendments to the hangar inspection and use policy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let the record show it was a 4-0 vote. Assistant to the city manager report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Wiggins.
I'm sorry, one more comment.
Just one more question. Will this The amendments would be sent to us as hang orders?
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay.
Honorable Mayor, Wiggins, and council members. As you're aware, city staff spent a lot of time in the last several weeks communicating, even traveling to the city of Ridgecrest, meeting with city officials in regards to their response to the earthquakes of July 4th and 5th. What I have in front of you tonight is a designation of applicant's agent resolution. As a result of those meetings, both with city officials in Ridgecrest, also Cal OES, we learned a few things, and one of those is while the city of Tehachapi has a very robust emergency operations plan, it's of utmost importance to update those documents on a regular basis, sometimes even organize potential emergency response documentation prior to an emergency to streamline the response process. Among those is a resolution by the City Council designating agents authorized to obtain federal financial assistance under Public Law 93-228 as amended by the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief Act of 1988 and/or state financial assistance under the California Disaster Assistance Act. This is also known Cal OES Form 130. It's required for all applicants, all agencies to become eligible for disaster funding. Approving this in advance prevents the necessity for any type of special meeting of the City Council following an emergency event. And the City of Ridgecrest let us know they didn't have this on the books, so they had to sort of scramble and get their council together. It was a holiday and get a quorum and vote to make sure they could designate who could actually open the books with Cal OES. They didn't actually go down the FEMA route. But it's, so what they have pointed out, and also Cal OES, the Office of Emergency Services, has encouraged cities to actually get this, designate these agents in advance, get it on file. It's a universal resolution. It's effective for all open and future disasters up to 3 years following the date of approval. The fiscal impact on this is required by both the Stafford Act and the California Disaster Assistance Act that the designation of applicants is on file in order to request any disaster assistance funding or receive any disaster assistance reimbursement in the event of a natural disaster. So that being said, what we've learned in chatting with Ridgecrest city officials and Office of Emergency Services officials with the Office of the Governor, staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution designating the mayor, city manager, public works director, and finance director as authorized agents in an emergency to request federal or state assistance and recovery efforts funding. Is there any questions at this time?
Any questions from the audience concerning this? Council?
Do you have a specific order or anything like that, or just, I would assume that you would, that's in case we got some people injured or out of commission?
Yeah, there's no specific order per se. It's just, most likely in the event of an emergency will be the city manager, but if he's not here, then we have some options to choose from. So there's not a specific hierarchy per se. It's just these four. And you notice as well, they're not listed with names. They encourage you, because positions change, people change titles. These positions will be linked to this for 3 years, and 3 years will, bring up a renewal essentially in front of the council.
And this is just to get the ball rolling, so you're not waiting a week before someone can approve something. So
yeah, and really it's in response. So, for example, in Ridgecrest, they had the earthquakes. They didn't have this in place. So they couldn't actually get on the phone to Cal OES and say, we need this, this, and this, until one of these authorized agents did so. And they had to have a special meeting and get that ironed out real quick. So this just makes it very clear, very streamlined, depending on the severity of the disaster. So it could be Cal OES, it could be as high as FEMA. And so this allows both state and federal assistance requests. And that pretty much then opens your account, so to speak, for reimbursement costs and assistance in response to the disaster.
it makes sense.
The first several hours, first day is so critical. The County of Kern, City of Ridgecrest, we've all learned a lot over the course of the 2 days, July 4th and July 5th. And the county, Cal OES, they highly, highly recommend this document to be in place so that you can just put the boots on the ground immediately without hesitation.
When you go through tabletop exercises, they usually kill 2 or 3 people. The city manager's buried somewhere or whatever, because you have to be trained on how to react when your leaders aren't there right then. So it's a really good thing. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we designate applicant agent resolution so we can designate the mayor, city manager, public works director, finance director to authorize agents in an emergency to
moved and seconded.
This is one where this is actually, we're adopting a resolution, is that correct? Or it's not stated there, but we're adopting a resolution.
We are adopting a resolution, correct.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it was a 4-0 vote. Development Services Director Report, number 11.
Mayor, thank you, council members. My item for discussion tonight is the Highway Safety Improvement Program Enhanced Pedestrian Crossings Project Design. So just to re-familiarize you all with this project, or perhaps familiarize you the first time, in August of 2018, city staff identified and applied for a Cycle 9 HSIP, Highway Safety Improvement Program grant application in order to try to obtain funding to construct 2 pedestrian crossings, enhanced pedestrian crossings. One to be located at Tompkins Elementary, east-west crossing Curry Street, where we already have an improved crosswalk itself. And then the second one at the intersection of Mill and Valley running north-south. And the simple concept is either flashing beacons, handicap ramps, etc., and they're push-button activated, meaning they won't automate. They will only activate when somebody wishes to cross the street in those locations to help provide visibility for would-be travelers, to slow down and to stop if somebody's crossing the road. We did have a pedestrian fatality, 3, 4, 5 years ago, somewhere on Valley near Middle. That's why that spot was identified. And obviously, Tompkins is easy to understand why we would identify that location. Anyway, we were successful in that grant application. Project funding is about $220,000 to execute this project, and so this time we're looking to hire the design consultant to produce the design for the project. We solicited proposals from 5 design firms and received several in return, and an internal team of staff evaluated those proposals and selected Provost and Pritchard for that contract. Fiscally, we had budgeted $35,000 for this phase of construction. This project has no match requirement, so this is 100% grant funded. And the budget proposed from Provost and Pritchard is just over $30,000. So the remaining budget is available for staff expenses to manage that consultant. So the expected fiscal impact of the city is 0, and this was a budgeted expense in the budget. So tonight we ask that you approve the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and Provost and Pritchard for the design associated with the Enhanced Pedestrian Crossings Project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the audience concerning this? Council?
Are they going to have in-pavement flashers like you see in San Luis at the pavement level?
We recommend against those for snowplow areas. So we actually, this is where the benefit of having relationships with other agencies really pays off. I know the engineers in Mammoth, they installed a number of those a few years ago and then turned around and told me that it was nothing but a nightmare, because they're expensive and they get hit by a plow, and then Public Works is out there digging holes in the street. So no, the goal, we haven't shaped it entirely yet. That's the intent of the design. I think at Tompkins, we actually have room to build a pedestrian refuge in the middle of the road, which is maybe a raised median, where heaven forbid, cars move and there's a place for a kid to stop that's safer. It's probably just flashing perimeter signs on either side of the road. We'll look at the metrics about the spacing of those signs as it relates to the vehicle locations, because that's the trick, is you want them to be really visible for that motorist, especially on Valley, where sometimes the sun is in your eyes, depending on which way you're going. So we'll look at those metrics, but it's probably just flashing beacons on size.
Anything other than what we have to enhance it, it'll be an improvement. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Highway Safety Improvement Program, enhance the pedestrian crossings project design.
And a second? Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it was a 4-0 vote. City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor Wiggins. I'd like to ask Key Budge to come up to the podium. Key, could you explain better than I can about Wednesday's safety seminar to be held at the Public Works or Police Department community members?
Absolutely. September is Emergency Preparedness Month, nationally. And we have in the past, in September, hosted an emergency preparedness seminar. We're going to do that again this year. Talked with Chief Krager. It was something we wanted to do. We felt it was important. And that was discussed prior to the July earthquakes at Ridgecrest. That really kind of hits things home. We need to make sure that everyone is ready for whatever type of event. So Chief Krager, myself, Captain Brian Gaddis from the Kern County Fire Department, and Jeannie Taylor from the Fire Department will be working together to present emergency preparedness. I provided each of you a set of some of the documents, and I have them available for the public if anyone would like them tonight. But we just want people to be prepared. We did a social media poll. 60% of those who responded said they had no plan in place for any kind of emergency. So we really thought it was important because those first 3 days are really critical to taking care of yourself, easing the burden on public safety. So that's really what we want to hit on. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, but it's going to be Wednesday night, 6:30 in the community room of the police department.
Any questions from the audience concerning this? Council? Okay. Did you have any other comments? Okay. Mr. Davies, did you have anything?
No, Madam Lady,
Nothing tonight.
I just had a couple things, and I think I asked about them too. The installing of all the signals on Tucker, I can see future problems with it. And I understand those will be taken care of in time, but it worries me. Before it used to be too many people speeding up and down the street. Now it's too many signals. So I don't know if there's any, if you'd like to address that, Greg.
Do you mind writing?
Yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, the reason you're experiencing difficulties now is the signals are still on time. So there's two primary ways in which signals are programmed to operate. One that's more typically used during construction is simply a timer. Each signal phase gets a certain amount of time. You can adjust that timing during the course of the day to give a certain direction, more time during rush hour, etc. And a little bit of that customization was done, but you have to do that until the physical construction loops are built out in the road. The loops are those little circles that are ground into the roadway. So those loops were only recently completed last week. So once the loops are in place, you can then go to demand-based timing for the signal, where if a car comes up and there's no car coming here, it will skip that cycle and go straight to where the cars are moving through. So that programming, you should expect to see a pretty sizable improvement in your time through there in like a week. So Caltrans has to do that programming. These are their signals in this road, but that's my understanding. So give me another week and maybe we can talk about it in October and see how it's going.
I hope so, because I almost ruined.
Yeah, no, I went through it and stopped at all four on Sunday morning. And I was like, so yeah, I understand.
Okay, also kudos to the Parks and Rec and our people who do maintenance. One day I was coming out of Circle K and just turned towards the park, and our city park just looked like a sheet of green velvet. It was so beautiful. And I thought, this is our park. So I have to say.
I would just like to commend TDRPD and the city of Tehachapi for, again, for the Grant Fondo. And I go down there, I volunteer and things, but I hang out and listen to people and talk to them and everything, and I didn't hear any ill will, so. And I'd also like to just remember, this is really not a city issue, but it's a community issue. School has started, and this is not new this year. Learn about the red flashing lights on the school bus. And the big stop sign comes out, and the red lights go on, and that means STOP, stop. And if for no other reason than, you don't want to hit a child, it's outrageously expensive if you get cited for that. So, and some people just say, oh, well, I didn't realize that. And it's been around long enough that You should realize it. But I just would like to reiterate that the school superintendent said it at our Eastern Economic Development meeting, but any place that we can mention that, you know, watch out, because it's a big bus and little kids want to run out from it, so, and that's all. Yes, sir.
One more thing, I'm sorry. I'd like to congratulate our airport manager, Ashley Whitmore. Ashley was elected to the Association of California Airports, District 3. District 3 is Kern, Inyo, and Mono counties. There are 27 some odd airports in that district. It's a statewide association, and we attended that association conference last week along with Dawn, with our Public Works Director, because it is an asset. It's a large, important asset to our city and to our region. And the association saw value, a lot of value, in Ms. Whitmore, and she was elected unanimously to that board. So it's a 2-year term, so we're looking forward to continue to learn more about that organization, how we can help and how we can promote Tehachapi Municipal Airport.
You have 2 other people you want to recognize? Yes. This time?
And we're going to save that for next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Just one last thing on the Grand Fondo. I have gone down there, you know, in the midst of all the activities and everything. And as a resident, strictly as a resident, I thought, oh boy, I'm going to be dodging bicycles all day long. Well, evidently it's a very well-run event. I didn't have to dodge bikers all day long. And I was very pleased with that. And I went to the dinner the night before. It was a very well attended and beautiful event. So the weather was very cooperative as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir? That was a rhetorical question, but go ahead.
If I may, I'd first like to comment on, compliment our city design engineers for that park and ride facility. I pass there quite often, and I think it's almost 100% utilized. And the entrance and egress and the flow of traffic and the buses, turnouts and everything, it's just working beautifully. Another item I'd like to ask if we could possibly put on the next agenda to address the concerns of certain people here that we've conducted business without one of the councilmen being present. I'd suggest we put a recapitulation of the hangar inspection issue on the next agenda so that he can certainly have a good insight into what's being conducted here in this town.
The answer is probably not. And the reason for that is the FPPC, which is the Fair Political Practices Commission, has stated in a letter to us and to Mr. Hedke that he cannot participate in certain airport conversations, debates, discussions, and decisions. And the issue tonight, the agenda item tonight, is one of those. He cannot. It is against the law.
Yes, I remember reading that in the newspaper. Well, that was interesting.
The letter is in the packet, and I'd be happy to get you a copy of the letter if you'd like it, but it's in the packet that we supplied to the public on last Tuesday, and it's at the back room also. Unfortunately, I think Ms. Spunkcord had mentioned the value of that, certainly the aviation background value, but the FPPC said no.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
You moved it?
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.